A recurring theme among Destiny reviews is that playing by yourself sucks. Solo queue is no bueno. So I decided to make 10 tips that will make your life in solo queuing that much easier. You clicked on the video, you know exactly what you're in for, so without further ado, let's get on to tip number 1. Stick with your team. I know, this one also blew my mind. This is the singular tip that probably pops up in every single video on this subject, because it really is the best tip. You need to stick to your team. Be a leech. Attach yourself to them. Be a Siamese twin. Practice the buddy system. If you see someone spawn up by themselves, that is your new friend. Be friends, team shot, win games. This is especially important in a game like Supremacy, because I get that mode maybe 3 times in a row. If you stick together, there is no possible way the enemy can even get a point on the board. In Control, however, you can break this rule of thumb. You don't have to be exactly on your teammate's hip. If they're capping a zone, you can move up a little bit. That way they can cap the zone while you defend, and keep enemies off of them. A cool change from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 is that any person on a zone, it doesn't matter if it's 1, it doesn't matter if it's 4, it caps at the exact same rate, and you don't have to neutralize zones. It just goes straight for captures. Don't be alarmed at the abrupt change in graphics. I decided to use Microsoft Paint to illustrate exactly what I mean when I say do not block strafe paths. So in this picture, imagine that you're the green guy, the enemy is the red guy, and your teammate is the blue guy, hence the name Blueberry. Your teammate and the enemy are trading fire. Your teammate's weak. Where does he want to go? Does he want to go out in the open or towards cover? The answer is he wants to go to cover, but he can't because you're blocking the path. So what do? How do you prevent this? In the wise words of Ludacris, move bitch, get out the way, so that way your teammate can get to cover, and then you can pop out slightly further away and make the enemy wish he watched the guide on how to solo queue. And on to tip number 2. Use sensible weapons. You want to make sure your weapons cater to both the ranges at each map and make sense in terms of the game mode. Take the gameplay in the background for instance. I'm using a pulse rifle and a sidearm. A pulse rifle can easily handle most medium to long distance targets, whereas you would want a scout rifle for very long targets, but considering now that the game mode is control, you have almost no reason to be in the back of the spawn, so no long sight lines exist. Therefore, a pulse rifle is perfect. And a sidearm, that's more for your melee range. Now, if this same map had Clash for instance, I might substitute the pulse for a scout, and maybe the sidearm for an auto rifle or a submachine gun. Finally, if the game mode was Supremacy, my loadout would change yet again. There's no point in killing long to medium distance targets, because if their crest is on the floor, their teammate should be next to him and will instantly recover the crest. You don't get any points for that. So what makes more sense is to go an auto rifle to cover your close medium range, and then you want either another auto rifle, a sidearm, a submachine gun, something to handle your ultra close range, because you'll experience that a lot in Supremacy. Here's a good rule of thumb for weapon distances. If you're comfortable using a sniper rifle at that range, probably want to use a scout rifle. If it's medium to long range, pulse rifle. If it's medium range, auto rifle. If it's medium range and there's a lot of cover, hand cannon. If it's close range, submachine gun. If it's point blank range to where you can melee them, probably a sidearm. Now don't get me wrong, there are exceptions to this rule. Uriel's Gift punches way out of its weight class in terms of range. No one ever mentioned to the anti-OP that it is a submachine gun, not an auto rifle. And the Last Hope forgot that it's Destiny 2 Year 1 and not Destiny 1 Year 3. This being said, never blame the gun, blame your decision making. I'll explain. Don't worry guys, I got this. I played Destiny 1. I know what I'm doing. Look at this. Sword hilts out. I'm gonna tell you how many there are. There's 4 of them. I got this. No! No, they're laggy. They're using Mida multi OP-ness. I'm not gonna let these scrubs get away with it. I'm gonna complain about the multi-tool in the forums. Here we go. Bungie.net forums. Okay, there it is. Feedback forums. There we go. Title, Mida is OP. Think that'll work. Now I need some body. Team shotting, too strong. The scrubs don't know what they're doing. Bungie, fix this. I don't know why I have to type this stuff out. This should be obvious. The multi-tool was clearly the problem, not me. If you're the kind of person to complain about the multi-tool, camping, things of that sort, your randoms being terrible, I don't think you're playing the game right. I mean, take this game for instance. We have a huge lead on the enemy team. They decide to camp and not actually approach us, so we say, alright, we're going to back it up even further. We're going to go as deep in the back of our spawn as possible and choke him out. And our blueberry actually follows this strategy too. We have no communication with him, he just knows what is best. But what makes this clip amazing is not the game footage, it's what Shaq says at the end. And it cracked me up because of how, let's just say, optimal we were playing Clash. If the other team wants to waste our time, we're gonna waste theirs.
Victory is all I ask. Good. I've recorded your session for the rookies. They'll have no excuses for sloppy technique. I've recorded your session for the rookies. They'll have no excuses for sloppy technique.
See, even Shax thinks that the majority of people who play this game are scrubs. Like, exactly. Sloppy technique. Look at this. I know there are 4 people. Why does my idiot self peek on them? Why do I think I could beat 4 people? The answer is, you can't. It's not the multi-tool's fault. It's your fault. Let's take this enemy team's fatal flaw as an example. We had the lead. They have to come to us. So why are they camping? This level of scrubbery works on both sides of the coin. One person may think Mida multi-tool's overpowered because they're peeking lanes like an idiot, and another person might think hand cannons are underpowered because they're not shooting and peeking between cover. You could say the exact thing about pulses. Oh, pulses are underpowered, and then you gotta ask them, well, are you shooting between cover? Yes or no? They're a burst weapon, not a full auto weapon. You can't blame the game, you can't blame other players on your stupidity. If you're not using a weapon optimally, if you're peeking lanes that other people already have established, you are the problem. Not the gun, not other people's playstyles, you. This actually brings up a really nice plug for my friend CoolGuy, who just did a video on the Mida multi-tool and whether it's truly overpowered or are we just imagining it.
Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, and today we need to talk about the Mida multi-tool. In last week's This Week at Bungie, senior designer John Wisniewski said that since the launch of Destiny 2, we've been tracking your feedback, and they are aware of the Mida multi-tool's popularity, and they're looking at it very closely. It is popular, but according to their data, there are options out there that match or exceed its effectiveness in all activities, so it needs to be talked about. The Mida's caught a lot of attention on forums in-game. There's players calling for a nerf to the Mida multi-tool, a change to the weapon, and Destiny Tracker says that the Mida was the most used weapon in last week's trials, 17.9 million kills. And to put that in perspective, the next was the Prosecutor at 6.5 million, and then the Uriel's Gift at 6.1, so double. Heavy weapon usage for the Mida multi-tool. Now that's just in trials. You see them in both quick play, competitive, and from my personal experience, I would say that over 50% of my matches in trials were facing the Mida multi-team. And I'm one to say right now, we need to get off of the nerf train. Just pump the brakes. We need to remember historically here what that does. And we need to realize how it has changed since Destiny 1.
Sorry for that content detour, but it had to be done. Too many people are complaining about the multi-tool. And where were we? Oh yeah, back to tips. Put shots in. When I say put shots in, I'm not referencing a Lil Jon song. I'm telling you to change your mentality on the game. You're not going for kills, you're going for assists. What this accomplishes is if you're always going for that assist and pre-firing hallways and things like that, the enemy cannot heal if they get tagged by your gun. Also, if your teammate picks up the kill, you get super energy. If you always have that mentality of go for the kill, you're probably going to run in stupid by yourself and die. So never chase kills by yourself. Always have a teammate. Put shots in, get your assists. I'll quickly relate this to a story in Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, there was this gun called the Mida multi-tool. No, I'm not joking with you on the story, it really has to do with the Mida. The Mida would do 35 damage to the body. So if you tagged 35 damage to the body, the enemy would think, oh, that's not that much damage, and they would peek out. And then your teammate would already be scoped out with a sniper rifle and body shot him. Oh my gosh, it would piss people off. Moral of the story is doing damage to people changes the time to kill of certain weapons, and this brings actually an entire new utility for weapons that were thought to be useless, like high impact weapons. Although some high impact weapons have the slowest time to kill in the game, if you're using it as a pure assist weapon, it severely lowers the time to kill of a team shot. I think it also makes sense to mention in this section ricochet rounds. Those are bullets that if you shoot a wall, they bounce off and maybe will hit a target. If you're just spamming down a hallway after you see someone's weak, you might hit them. Hitting them will delay them from healing, and then you and a teammate can collapse, knowing that there's no way in hell they have full health. A couple good guns with ricochet rounds are the Nurgle Pulse Rifle and the Last Hope Sidearm. Also Fighting Lion, but I'm gonna say never use the Fighting Lion in quick play because you'll run out of ammo too quickly. Save it for competitive and trials, if you get good with it. Okay, well that covers this one. On to tip number 4. Use supers with thought, aka be smart about using your supers. Now some of you might say, playing with the leaf blower, that's the most childish thing I ever heard of, and others might be saying, use super smart, Cammy, that's so obvious. But is it? Would I be making the tip if it wasn't obvious and I saw people doing this on a daily basis even though I live in the Crucible? No. Trust me, it is not obvious. If you get the first super, use it smart, try to wipe the enemy team, but never push out by yourself. Supers aren't as strong anymore. You can't just tank the entire enemy team. A tip I'd suggest is when you're about 90% to your super, start trying to lure enemies towards you. That way if you have a super like a Smash, a Stormcaller that has Landfall, just something like that, maybe even a Nova Bomb. Once the enemy's near you and you're about 90% to your super, you know, I'm gonna have my super very soon. And notice at the top of the screen, there are some gold supers highlighted. That means the enemy has a super. My teammate just got a tether. If you're 90% to your super, that doesn't appear up there. So you know you're about to get the super. The enemy has no idea. This makes it very, very easy to set up some multi-kills. And even if you get only 1 or 2 kills with your super, it's still making progress because your teammate shouldn't be too far behind you. If you get a kill or 2 with the super, depending on the super, you make an Orb of Light, and if your teammates stay alive, they can pick up the Orb of Light and charge their super. So now you could potentially have 3 uncontested supers just because you used yours early. But let's say things don't go according to plan, because they almost never do in solo queue. Pay attention to what the enemy has for supers available. If you're a Sentinel Titan, that's a Defender Titan for you D1 folks out there, you might want to not use the bubble if you see that they have a Nova Bomb up. You might want to try to bait it out by swiping wildly in the air. Or you might want to not use it at all until you see them actually use the Nova Bomb. The same can be said for Golden Guns. If you see most of the enemy team is Stormcallers, you might want to save the Golden Gun, because a Stormcaller has to come close to you if it wants to kill you, whereas a Golden Gun can kill you across the map. So once you hear a Stormcaller pop the Golden Gun and just dare him to come down a corridor. He's not. Finally, if you're a Night Stalker, you really have to decide whether or not you want to use your super offensively or defensively, reactively, proactively. You gotta look at what the enemy supers have. If it's Nova Bombs, I say use it preemptively. Just shoot it at a group of people, because if they have a Nova Bomb and they anticipate it, you're dead anyway. The exception again, what if you're playing a team of Golden Guns? Maybe you want to use it reactively. Maybe you want to jump really high in the air and try to bait a tether on the floor, that way when a Golden Gun has to eventually come around the corner, he gets tethered. I gave you guys a couple examples to think of, but once you play a lot of Crucible, you'll know the super matchups and when to smartly use your supers, but some food for thought, so take these tips in mind. Power ammo is important. First and foremost, let's go over power ammo etiquette, meaning these are real people, this is an online game. If someone's patiently waiting on power ammo, and you shoulder charge them off just to grab power ammo and then die with it, you might really piss them off. I actually had this happen to me today. I spawned up, there were 5 seconds to power ammo, so I ran up towards the power ammo. I hit pause to switch from my sword to my fusion rifle, and then I got shoulder charged off with 2 seconds left. Then he just grabs it. Now at that moment, you can make a choice. You can say, oh, I'm not going to be mad about it, let's win the game. Or you can say, alright, now my goal is to ruin this player's experience. So I switched to Cold Heart and just started spamming it up in the air all over the map so that the enemy sees, hey, there are people over here, let's shoot them. And since the guy had a fusion rifle, I tried to step in front of my teammate every time he took a fusion rifle shot. Now to add salt in the wound, if the enemies light you up, just move out of the way and run behind your teammate, and they'll probably end up killing him. And then when he's dead, just start teabagging his dead body, and maybe, just maybe, he'll get the message that, if I wasn't there first, maybe I shouldn't shoulder charge you off just to steal heavy. Power. But besides people being assholes in online gaming, I know, unheard of, there really are some rules to power ammo. If you see there's 15 seconds left and you see a teammate spawning behind you, it might be a better idea to just move ahead and push the objective rather than to waste 15 seconds and let the enemies go up on B flag. Now me personally, I tend to run a sword, and if I'm running a sword, chances are it's going to short stop on the enemy. Now the exception is if it's supremacy, then I have a pretty high chance of securing kills, but if it's clash or control, chances are I'm never going to be close enough to actually use the sword. So it's almost always a better option to just voluntarily give up the power ammo to my teammates. But if I'm ever in a position to steal power ammo from the enemies, oh, I'm going to do it. Because even if I die, that's probably like 4 kills they didn't get because I took it. This brings up another important point. Kill volume. Meaning, the amount of kills that you get on average per power ammo pickup. Rocket launchers, I'm going to say average 2. Fusion rifles, average 3. Shotguns, average 3. Snipers, average 3. Grenade launchers are going to average 2, and swords with the ammo are probably also going to average 2. My suggestion again goes back to the sensible loadout tip, meaning play to the game mode and to the map. You don't want to pick a sniper rifle in Supremacy, because if you kill someone across the map, the enemy's just going to recover the crest immediately. So perhaps in your inventory, keep a collection of power weapons that can really meet your needs. There are some perks on weapons that really stretch the amount of kills you can get per ammo pickup. And this part's really a personal opinion, but I like hunters picking up the power ammo, because they have a dodge ability, and if they dodge to get away, that means they keep the power ammo instead of just wasting it because they move too slow. Well, that about wraps up this section, so on to tip number 6. Tip number 6, focus and cater your armor perks around quick play. In Destiny 2, your armor affects 3 stats respectively: mobility, recovery, and resilience. Mobility is how fast you strafe and how high you jump. Resilience is how much health you have, and recovery is how quickly your health restores to full. I'm gonna tell you right here, there's no secret, recovery is the most important stat in quick play. Boost that up as much as you can, but try to keep your resilience around 4, because that helps people have to put in an extra headshot with the Mida multi-tool, which is a very popular weapon. I'm gonna link a lot of information below in the description so that you can make better decisions for yourself on what you prefer to run. Fallout Plays did a perfect video going over resilience, recovery, mobility, and then there's a lot of Crucible playbook posts that are very helpful upon deciding the exact number of maybe mobility that you want to run. Because I get this question asked so often, why do I prefer mobility over recovery even in quick play? That's because the majority of my time is spent in elimination game modes like Trials of Osiris and the competitive playlist, and my reasoning is if I strafe faster, I make it to cover faster. If I make it to cover faster, I'm living. I'm not dead. Recovery doesn't matter if I'm dead. That's the way I look at it. No one can really talk me out of it. Now let's talk exotic armor pieces. There's 2 that come to mind when I think of team play, and that is the Crest of Alpha Lupi and the Lunification Boots. The Crest of Alpha Lupi is a Titan chest piece, and whenever you throw up a barricade, you heal your team for just a little bit, anyone besides you. You also heal yourself, but that's not important here. The Lunifications are Warlock Boots. They automatically reload all weapons when you step through a healing rift. Now consider the amount of barricades or healing rifts you get per game, and think about how useful that could be if you want to make sure your blueberries are always reloaded or always healthy when they peek out to fight. If you find yourself valuing class abilities, be sure to spec your armor perks into decreased class ability cooldowns. Let's say like grenades, same thing, make sure your armor decreases grenade cooldowns. Just again, reference all those videos I had in the description so you can make more intelligent choices on this subject. There are also perks that increase your reload speed for kinetic weapons, and this is very important if you use a weapon with kill clip, because you can activate the perk faster. When you get a kill and then reload with a gun that has kill clip, you get 33% damage bonus. These guns include the Anti-OD, the Old Fashioned, and the Nightshade, so having a kinetic reloader might be very integral to your playstyle for that particular weapon. The last thing to mention on this subject are stability boosters, kinetic counterbalance, and energy counterbalance. What these do is they affect each weapon's spread pattern differently, so you have to test every single individual weapon to see if 1 or 2 of these actually make a difference. Again, I'll probably have a video in the description that goes over all of this. So, yeah, there's that. And on to tip number 7. Learn the maps. Learn them. Now, what you're seeing in the background is a map created by the Lifesavers at Crucible Radio. They have these for almost every single map in Destiny, and they are top-notch. Sure enough, you can download these yourself and add little callouts to it if you want to optimize them even more, but these are perfect for just getting your feet wet when learning a map. So what I like to do is whenever I play a map, I instantly pull up the Crucible Radio map on my monitor and just look at it. And then whenever I can't think of a location to call out, I look at my map and say, oh, that's called Gulch, and then I go back to playing. But Cammy, I'm a solo queuer, I don't need to know the maps. Yes, you do. This guide is to hopefully get you on your feet so that you can find competent teammates by being a competent blueberry. But callouts aren't enough. You need to know every individual part of this map. You need to know that towards blocks, there's a head glitch. You need to know that at portal, you can get on the ceiling barrier. You need to know that in the drain, you can clamber up instead of wasting a blink. There was even a situation yesterday where at Ninja, I suppressed myself and an enemy, and because I had 7 mobility, I actually made the gap and clambered up, and the other guy died. It was glorious. Now that you're getting familiar with the maps, now you know not to block the strafe paths because you know what the strafe paths are. You know the map. Here's a tip. You probably know this already, but use your emotes. If you use an emote like you sit down near a wall, you can kick your character in the third person and then see around the wall. Sword hilts accomplish the same thing and you can move around, whereas emotes are stationary. Since you're in solo queue and almost nobody uses mics, you can also use emotes to pseudo-communicate with teammates. Like if you use the I got your back emote, or perhaps the I'm calling power ammo because I pointed at it. So I want you guys to do this, at least on every map once. Pull out a sword hilt and see what part of you is visible. Start getting a sense of what part of your body is exposed, because the less of you that's exposed, the harder it is for the enemy to accurately hit their shots, even with aim assist. At this point, you should be familiar with the callouts, where power ammo spawns, the flags, the hotspots, the head glitches, and now you should know how to properly play against them and anticipate things. I know this sounds like a lot of homework to do, but I mean, this is a solo queue guide, and the only way to get better at solo queue is to know the maps. Well, it's not the only way, but it's very important. Run. So sometimes your entire team, despite you being a Siamese twin, is going to die, and you will be left alone. So tip number 1 is hip fire. Leave your radar open, that way you know when and where people are coming from. Even then, the odds are not in your favor. So be as evasive as possible and delay your death. If you delay your death and try to put some damage in, your teammates might be able to help you out. Like here. Oh, goes off the map, gets back on. Oh shit, look at what Cammy did. Demonetized. I'm only going to elaborate on this tip a little bit more. Essentially, be slippery. Be very hard to catch. The Voidwalker has the best movement ability for this, Blink. You can blink horizontally from cover to cover instantly, and nobody can catch you, and they'll be very sad. Your primary objective should be make it back to where you think your team is going to spawn. And if that is impossible, your next objective should be put in as much damage as I can while wasting as much of the enemy's time as possible. If I can grab power ammo without them hitting me, do that. This will segue into the next tip instantly, so be ready for tip number 9. So let's say you're trying to slide into those DMs, and by DMs you mean you're escaping a 1v4 to get back to where you think your teammates are going to spawn, but you see that it's impossible. So now you're on delay mode. Do not waste your abilities. Again, if you find yourself in that impossible 1v4, don't chunk an arc bolt, don't throw a heal riff, save that for the next life when you can actually use it and know that your teammates can take advantage of it. Unlike Destiny 1, the cooldowns in this game are very slow, so don't chunk a random grenade because you think it might hit somebody. Be sure, be 100% positive that when you use an ability, it is going to help your team. In an objective game mode like Control, maybe just take the L and die outside of the objective so that way you can have a heal riff when you're near the objective. I guess the best way of putting it is that these are not your abilities, these are your team's ability. So use it when it benefits the team the most, not yourself. It really isn't complicated. The Stormcaller has an ability called Arc Soul, aka Arc Buddies, and if you throw a heal rift and someone passes through it, they get a little soul on their shoulder, an Arc Buddy, and it shoots at people. So what's better? 1 of those or 4 of those? 2 plus 2 equals 4 minus 1 is 3, that's quick maths. I mean, it's not complicated. Yes, you are now an official Blueberry, and at this point you should start looking for a fire team, because if you watch this video, you should have a glowing recommendation from myself to be competent in any fire team. Unsubscribed. Cammy made a solo queue guide and it told us to find a team. I'm a solo player. I lone wolf it in Destiny 2, even though it's all about team shotting. But Cammy, it's impossible to find a team. I'm not good enough to join a team. Everybody wants a 10.0 KDA. I hear your complaints. I already anticipated all your problems. Now, there is something called TeamSpeak in Destiny, where you can just hit select and then hover over to join team chat, but nobody really joins that. As you queue into a match, you could also try inviting people to a party chat. That's an option. Again, people probably aren't going to join, but it's a good way to maybe make friends, and I would do it just for good practice, to show that you are single and ready to mingle. The third option is just to play normally, and if you see somebody who's doing something that impresses you on the enemy team, or maybe your own team, shoot them a message and say, hey, nice use of the sniper every time you pick up power ammo or something. Just a generic compliment. From there, you should invite them to play more games. And if you had a good showing yourself, they'll probably want to join, because nobody wants to be alone. The final option is to use one of many LFG sites. That stands for looking for group. I used one from the Bungie.net forums, and this was the results. The post says, anyone want to play some quick play? I want to have teammates that actually talk. Comment with PSN if interested. Sure enough, I got somebody, and we destroyed the enemy team because we had communication. And don't tell me, oh, you only got somebody in your fire team because you're a YouTuber. That's not the case. The guy joined, he goes, "Hey, I thought you were Cammy Cakes." I said, "No, I don't know who that scrub is." So there you have it. I know this guide was long, like a body part of mine. My foot. Anyhow, I sincerely hope you enjoyed the guide. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thumbs it up if you liked it, add it to favorites, and definitely show your scrub friends how to solo queue. By of course, showing them this video and saying, "Hey, this nice guy named Cammy Cakes made a video. I know you're frustrated. I know you want to uninstall Destiny 2, but just watch this video and give it another chance." You know, all them young hunters. We don't really have much old content. We got a whole lot of new content though. If Telesto don't come back, I'll shoot you. Hey! Frame rate, tick rate, sniping it up with the ice break. Searching for a match. ... Ain't no exclusive on Xbox.